Good day, everyone. This is our presentation about legal decision making. Legal decision making. Decision making is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolution. The legal decision making is determined as a part of some form of legal separation or in relation to matters related to maternity and paternity. When one parent files a petition with the court, they are asking the court to grant them the authority of legal decision making for that child. If the court agrees that a parent has such authority and they meet the statutory requirements to be determined as a parent, then it is the court's responsibility to ensure that the individual is granted some form of legal decision-making authority so that they can act on behalf of their child.
What does legal decision-making authority grant? According to the Arizona Department of Economic Security, legal decision-making is defined as the court granting authority to a person or persons to care a child on whatever term is set. This may include such things as religious choice, educational choice, medical treatment, and whatever extracurricular activities that child involved in.
Example of legal decision making. If a father is granted visitation with the child every other weekend in a month, that may grant the father time that he can spend with the child, including bringing him or her to his home. He is given authority to have custody of the child according to what most people view as the definition of this term. However, this may not give the father the responsibility of the legal decision-making authority. This means that if the child was hurt and needed medical care during that weekend period, the father may not have the authority to take the child to the doctor and seek medical attention. He may be required to contact the mother and ask her to meet at the medical facility, or he may be allowed to take the child to the doctor, but all decision on what kind of treatment the child would receive would come down to the mother. This is if she has full legal decision making authority.
Types of legal decision-making authority. Sole legal decision-making authority. In this legal situation, one person, usually a parent, is given complete authority to act on behalf of the child in all major decisions.
This means that the court orders one parent to have the legal right and responsibility to make major decisions regarding the care or welfare of the child.
Joint legal decision-making authority. Neither parent has superior authority over the other one. Both parents have the rights to make decisions that are deemed in the best interest of the child. And if there is a matter that is unable to be decided upon, then it is the court that will have the final authority to judge what should occur for the child.
How parenting time relates to legal decision making authority. When there is an arrangement for joint custody, meaning both parents have the child at specific times agreed upon or designated by the court, there is usually some sort of joint legal decision making authority that is granted. This usually means that the parents who has custody of the child at a specific time determines what the child does or how to handle emergency situations.
Decision rights refers to an organization rules and practices, whether explicit or implicit. Who is involved in making them?
For example, when you are doing a decision, you need to inform everyone in your team about your decision. What decision must be made? A decision inventory lists the decision that an organization must make. It should identify the organization's most important decision at various organization level. It may also be helpful to identify certain subsidiary decisions at each of those levels. Many of these lower order decisions often be inferred from an understanding of most important top level one. How do operating process and tools help support decision making? A decision making process defines the forums and procedures through which decision makers across the organization make their decision. Factors to consider here include How often a decision-making body should convene? It depends on its purpose, scope, and urgency. What stakeholders decision makers need to consult, and what evidence might be useful and available to inform this decision.
What's so hard about decision rights? One probable reason is that few people recognize decision rights as a distinct organizational design need in its own right.
Many leaders tend to confuse decision rights with organizational structure, process, and workflow, mistakenly assuming that the design of roles or work processes will also adequately define the organization's decision making practices. Because of this, many organizations remain effectively stuck in neutral, with management viewing decision making as a result rather than as something that needs to be actively and proactively addressed.
The sheer size and complexity of some organization can be another barrier.
The bigger and more complicated the organization, the harder it can be to untangle existing decision making practices and design better ones. Overlapping responsibilities can needle the question of who makes decision, resulting in inefficiency and slower responses to business opportunities. In fact, a major institutional challenge is often the tension between getting something done quickly versus collaborating, integrating, and bringing the whole company along with getting it done quickly, frequently taking priority. Fast decision making is often celebrated even when it's not necessarily effective or well informed.
Potentially, even more pernicious reason that many organizations have difficulty addressing decision rights is resistance from senior executives.
In some organizations, especially in traditional, more hierarchical organizations, executives may want the identity of the individuals making decision to be obfuscated, particularly for top-level corporate decision.
Payoff for clearly establishing accountability for decision. First, decision rights can become guardrails that prevent personal agendas and loyalties from superseding organizational goals. Second, better defined decision rights and accountabilities can encourage greater collaboration by reducing the reason for unhealthy competition between leaders and increasing their attachment to collective outcomes.
5 ways to get decision rights right. Number one, simplicity and clarity decision rights across the organization. At risk of starting the obvious, the effectiveness of an organization's decision rights practices depends critically on how clearly and simply those decision rights are defined and communicated. Identify and clearly communicate who is responsible for making which decision, what decision must be made, and how the decision making process should work. Simplicity and clarity in decision rights can sometimes prove to be the missing ingredients in a transformation effort that seems to have gotten stuck. A well-known tool that can be helpful in designating specific decision-making roles is the RASI framework, where R stands for responsible, A for accountable, C for consulted, and I for informed. Who is responsible for executing the work?
The responsible individual or individuals are those who carry out the actions prescribed by the decision, not necessarily those who make the decision.
Who is accountable for decisions outcome?
The accountable role identifies the actual decision maker, whether an individual or a group. Optimally, each decision should have only one accountable role.
Who should be consulted for input, information, insight, and perspectives?
Along with identifying the appropriate people to be consulted, a strong decision rights framework will also provide guidance on this consultative process.
Who should be informed about the decision and its outcome?
This may include individuals in leadership positions, as well as other decision makers whose own decision must take the prior decision into account.
In addition to simplifying and clarifying the who and how around decision making, it's also important to clearly articulate the what, which decisions are the highest priority. In many cases, understanding what decisions are most critical can help organization better figure out the who and the how. The second way to get decision rights right, establishing strong, transparent accountability for decisions made. Just because an organization has done a RASI exercise to assign decision-making accountability doesn't mean that those accountabilities have been made strong and transparent, which is the second key attributes of organization with effective right decision practices. Accountability is not about identifying where to place the blame for decisions gone wrong. Instead, it's about evaluating outcomes against agreed upon metrics and determining how broadly within the organization to share those evaluations. The aim is to enable the organization to better learn from both its failures and success.
To achieve strong, transparent accountability, leaders should consider and answer the question as such: who is the primary owner of the decision's outcome? How, using the metrics, will these outcomes be evaluated? Where, when, and how will progress against these outcomes be evaluated? To what degree will the answer to these questions be shared openly and broadly within the organization? Third ways to get decision rights right. Align individuals in decision making groups to a common mission. Establishing a clear common mission for the group can help counter this risk, allowing group to reach decision more quickly and less contentiously. The organization should also establish individual and team incentives for the group that support the common mission.
Unhelpful competition and dissent within a decision making group can slow the process and sabotage decision quality. Establishing a clear common mission for the group can help counter this risk, allowing the group to reach decisions more quickly and with less unnecessary debate. The fourth ways to get decision rights right. Encourage distributed authority. Some important enterprise level decision must rest with C-suite, executive, or other in top management positions. Pushing such day-to-day decisions closer to where they directly affect operations allow an organization to be more flexible and respond more quickly to changing marketplace needs. Empowering line workers to make decisions can pay off in greater agility and responsiveness.
When appropriate, empowering employees at all levels to make decisions can pay off in greater agility and responsiveness. To avoid creating confusion, it's important to explicitly articulate which frontline workers have the authority to make which decisions under what circumstances.
Fifth way to get decision rights right. Prioritize the customer voice in decisions. Among the most important ways to better understand customers' want and need is for organizations to listen more closely to what their customers are saying.
Giving customer facing workers more decision making authority is one way to increase customers' influence and the company's responsiveness to their needs.
Put the customer and outcomes at the center of every decision. Decision rights as competitive advantage. Improving an organization's decision right practices is not always easy. Whether this work is initiated by the C-suite or elsewhere in the organization, getting decision rights right can be mean fundamentally changing many things in the way the organization operates. Real and lasting change depends on engaging the right leaders and stakeholders, creating transparency throughout the process, and delegating decision to the lowest organizational level possible to free top executives to manage institutional decisions.
The effort will likely require people across the organization to change their behaviors and mindsets. and it will need to support by rewards system and incentives to encourage change. In the end, improving decision rights is an achievable goal that can start with the single decision to proceed. The benefits can far outweigh the investments. By adopting a detailed, well thought out approach to decision rights, organizations can inspire a new culture of transparency and accountability that will help them to become more competitive, more adaptive, and more responsive to marketplace needs.
This is the end of our report. Thank you for listening.